Fucking with Trey.
Get that paper, told that Glock, that's how we live. Yeah, my life's a gamble, I pray I don't get killed. They can't believe I got the guap, this shit for real. Can't accept the fact my brother gone, I wanna kill. Yeah, I can't go for that shit don't sit right. Instead of cabin to the old nigga, I know what you live like. Ain't worried about all, just fuck these hoes and live life. I go on the drill, I'm smart enough, you gotta know how to kill.
300 strikers stood inside the massive hall, their footsteps echoing nervous like heartbeats. Screens flickered on around them, and then in the cold blue light, no windows, no exits, just numbers. Soon a man had appeared. Jinpachi Ego stepped forward, hands in his pockets, eyes empty of any type of warmth. "Welcome," he said flatly, "to the beginning and the end, to Blue Lock." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Ego didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Japan doesn't need teamwork," he continued. "It doesn't need harmony. It doesn't need friendship." He tapped his foot on the floor with pace. "Japan needs the world's greatest striker, as I aim to create that." Silence quickly filled the room. Ego's eyes then sharpened. "A striker who lives for goals. A striker who devours his teammates. A striker who will abandon all reason, morals, and loyalty if it means scoring a goal." A player scoffed. "That's insane." Ego smiled. "Correct. Sanity has never won the World Cup, don't you think?" The screens then exploded with footage all around them. Legendary goals, ruthless finishes, cold celebrations, in each one of those players' eyes. They had it, that spark in their eyes that Ego would point at. This is their ego. It's the ability to place yourself above everything else when the goal is right in front of you. To believe you are the main character of the field, no matter the circumstances. His gaze then turned to the crowd. Only one of you will end up surviving. The other 299 will have their careers erased from history. Gasp, panic, doubt. But one player didn't react. Isagi Yoichi stood still, eyes calm, unreadable. This place. This is exactly what I've been looking for. When the entrance gates opened, some hesitated, but Isagi ran forward immediately. No questions. "Let's do this." Racing forward to enter, he didn't think twice. Later, returning to the facility, he's handed an outfit by Henri with a team and a number. Team Y at number 265. Isagi? Well, he looked forward to what could be happening. Inside basically the dorm, introductions began. "I'm Okawa," one player said. "Iki Nico," another muttered. Sharp but reserved. Isagi didn't speak. Okawa frowned. "You're not gonna introduce yourself?" Isagi looked at him. "Names don't matter. Only results." The room fell silent. From day one, training felt easy. Drills that left everyone gasping. But Isagi's heart rate remained the same. "Does he ever get tired?" someone whispered. Isagi didn't celebrate. He didn't react. All of this physical training is something he prepared for mentally and physically. He also began to train on his own. He trained in the morning before wake up, and he trained late nights, alone, as only his thoughts kept him comfort. "I won't lose here. I can't afford to." From the observation room, Ego watched the monitors. "Interesting," he muttered. Isagi Yoichi. No hesitation, no fear, no attachment. "You're not training to survive. like the others. You're training for something better. You're training to win. I like that about you. And in case you're wondering here, when they had their game of tag, an unknown player was eliminated, but that doesn't really matter. After days of relentless training, the teams were then summoned. Ego appeared on one screen. Congratulations, you unpolished gems. You've all survived what I'd call orientation. A pause would happen. Now let's see how many of you deserve to exist. A screen lit up, showing the rankings of the teams and their divisions. The first selection begins now. Team-based matches. He raised a finger. Lose and you drop in rank. Fall too low and you're eliminated. Another finger raised. Win and you'll be closer to becoming Japan's greatest striker. The room tensed. Goals are everything here. Assists are optional. Cooperation is temporary. But victory is absolute. His smile, it returned, sharp and merciless. If you can't turn 0 into 1, then you obviously don't belong here. The screen then shuts off. Isagi only cracked his neck at this new information. He's quiet, his eyes burning with hunger. Good. He then looked back at his teammates. Not as allies, but almost as pieces on a board that he could control. I don't need them to like me. I just need them to make sure that I score. This is where Blue Lock had truly began. Soon, the players will be gathered on a field for their first match. The whistle cut through the enclosed stadium. Team Y lined up tense and alert. Team V was the opposite. They looked bored. Seishiro Nagi stood at the center, shoulders slouched, eyes half-lidded. Mikage Reo adjusted his gloves, and he began smiling. Like this was a game he had already determined in his mind. Zantetsu bounced on his heels, itching to sprint. Isagi watched him quietly. So this is Team V. Overwhelming talent and zero hunger. Alright, Reo said cheerfully, tapping the ball forward. Let's start things off clean, Nagi. Reo's foot snapped forward. The pass wasn't fast. It was perfect, curving just enough to avoid an interception, dropping exactly where it needed to. Nagi yawned. He raised his foot slightly. The ball died on his step. A defender lunged in. Too late. With one smooth motion, Nagi flicked the ball upward and volleyed it into the net. A goal. Team V didn't celebrate. Reo was the only one who was clapping. Nice one, Nagi. His striker only shrugged. Okawa clicked his tongue. Are you kidding me? Isagi's eyes narrowed. That trap. Zero wasted motion. But he didn't even look as if he cared. Don't panic, Nico said calmly, adjusting his glasses. They're strong, but predictable. He scanned the field, eyes sharp. Spacing, movement, and timing. Then, Nico struck. A long diagonal ball slicing across the field towards Isagi. Yoichi, Okawa shouted. Isagi sprinted forward. Reo stepped in to cut him off. He's already leaning left. Isagi planted his foot and spun his body tightly around Reo, slipping past him and a defender in one motion. Reo began laughing. Oh, that was nice. Isagi didn't respond. He drew his leg back, a curved strike, bending away from the keeper's reach. And a goal. 1-1. Okawa pumped his fist in excitement. Isagi exhaled slowly, not saying a word. But Nagi, that had got his attention. He turned back to watch it. It was almost oppressive to him, but he still didn't really care about this match. Not yet, at least. The next possession, Team Y pressed aggressively. Nico intercepted a loose pass, Okawa took one touch and then sent it forward, yelling Isagi's name. Zantetsu, seeing his chance, exploded forward, smiling. Don't think you're faster than me. The two then raced side by side towards the ball, the turf blurring beneath them. He accelerated faster, but his reaction time, it lagged. Isagi cut inward instantly. Zantetsu stumbled. What? Isagi then kept going as Zantetsu lunged out desperately. I'll stop you. But it was too late. Isagi fired the shot before Zantetsu could even react, and a goal was had. 2-1. Zantetsu hit the ground, stunned. No way. Ryo laughed openly now. This is getting fun because of you. Nagi scratched his head. I guess we should try a little bit. Ryo then took control of the midfield, eyes gleaming. So, you're Yoichi Isagi, he said lightly. You're pretty interesting. He sent a no-look, reverse spinning pass. Wild, sharp, impossible. There you go, Nagi. Nagi yawned once again, trapping the ball on his thigh, letting it drop and smashing it midair to tie the score. The net rippled violently, and Nagi blinked, done. Silence soon filled the arena. The match had ended in a draw. Players breathed heavily, sweat dripped. Ryo began stretching. That was fun. You guys really surprised me. Zantetsu frowned. That guy, he's annoyingly fast. Nagi then glanced at Isagi. You're actually pretty good. Isagi soon met his gaze, unflinching. You'll never become the world's best. Nagi then tilted his head. Why? Isagi turned away and began walking. Because you rely on someone else to bring out your best playstyle. A true striker can create that alone. Ryo chuckled, telling him not to worry about that, but Nagi only stared at him, in his thoughts, as he whispered the words maybe below his breath. As the lights dimmed, Igo's voice echoed throughout the facility in his own room. Excellent. Now let's see which one of you evolves next. Isagi in another room clenched his fist. I won't lose. Not to them, not to anyone, not even to my brother. Isagi then sat alone for a long time after training had ended one day. The lights of Blue Lock dimmed, casting long shadows across the pitch. Around him, players talked, argued, laughed, each voice carrying a different intent. They don't see the same field, he soon realized. Everyone moves for their own reason. Isagi closed his eyes. The field reconstructed itself within his mind. Not lines and grass, but vectors, intentions, and probabilities. Football isn't just space, it's motive. When he opened his eyes, something had changed. Something else within him. I don't need to chase the ball anymore, he muttered. I need to control where it wants to go. Days later, they arrived on the field for another match. The whistle blew, and the team that they were going against, Team Z, they rushed forward aggressively. Raichi and Kuon closing in immediately. Lock him down, Raichi barked, and two bodies pressed in. Isagi didn't panic. They wanted to cage him. He lowered his center of gravity, dragging the ball backwards with the sole of his foot, and then snapping forward, chanting a step over into a sudden inside-outside dribble. Kuon reached, he missed. Raichi lunged, but he was gone. Isagi burst free, eyes sharp, body flowing. Already? Kuon shouted. Isagi then struck. The ball screamed into the net. No celebration, just a slow turn back to midfield. Soon, on their next possession, Raichi clenched his fist while raising it to the air. Pass it already. He drove forward, feeding Kira. Kira's eyes then flickered. Find the weak link. He juked Okawa cleanly, slipping the ball through to Kunigami. My turn, he roared. As he wound up for the shot, it thundered forward. But a smack is heard. As it lands in Nico's face, silence. Nico collapsed, but then pushed himself up, his eyes wide, glowing with calculation. An awakening was happening. Flashback. Nico, alone at night, replaying footage. Isagi's positioning, his timing, his angles. I just need to be able to see it first. If I can somehow even predict his moves just a little bit, then I should be able to do so for any striker in the facility. Back in the present, the ball began to float down, but Isagi was already there. He took the ball in stride. One defender, then another. His dribbling wasn't flashy. It was inevitable. Short touches, perfect rhythm, body swaying like a pendulum. The left is open. The right then collapses. A shooting lane opens. Now, from well outside the box, a goal. A super shot tore into the net that Gagamaru couldn't reach. What was that? Kira's breath was caught in the moment. How do you stop someone who sees everything? Someone who has skill that has no limits. Kira thinks back to their first time playing against each other in the national championship. But this was nothing like that. Sure, he was dominant in that match, but this was something entirely different. Team Z here has to try to regroup. Through me, Bachira called out. The ball moved fast, creative, but Isagi stepped in, intercepted it. He didn't even look at Kira before he said, all of this, it's pointless. I can't afford to lose to you. He flicked the ball upward, a rainbow flick over Kira's head. Before it touched the ground, Isagi thought back to Seishiro Nagi. Pretty creative for someone so lazy. But greatness doesn't wait for anyone to wake up. Impact volley. Top corner. A hat trick. Kira fell to his knees. It's almost as if Isagi wasn't human. He's a machine made for goals. Who knew strikers like this truly existed within Japan? Bachira would snarl after this. Fine, I'll have my own fun. Summoning his monster. They danced through defenders. And he slammed in a solo goal. Cheers echoed, but it was too late as the whistle blew. Isagi walked off the field, expression empty. Kira began to watch him go. He's truly a monster. Isagi didn't look back. His eyes glowed and were focused on the next task at hand. Every match, he learned something new. Sure, he had been playing football his whole life. But Blue Lock showed him a completely different world that he now wanted to grasp with everything in the fiber of his existence. Isagi sat alone before the match. The screen in front of him replayed the same footage over and over again. Shohei Barou. His brother's physique was overwhelming. Broad shoulders, explosive legs, power that bent defenders backward. Every goal was taken by force. Every run was a declaration. He's incredible, Isagi admitted. But his eyes sharpened. Not impossible. He shut the screen off, standing up, anger boiling at his chest. Years of abandonment, hunger, and resentment. That anger, it would cloud me. So we knelt down on the cold floor, breathing slow but steady. I can't chase him anymore, he whispered. I have to hunt him down. But I have to put myself in the mind state to do so. Team X would soon be seen stepping onto the field. Barou didn't look at Isagi. Isagi didn't look at Barou. The whistle blew. Barou took the ball. He surged forward like a battering ram. 2 defenders bounced off of him. Another tried to slide in, but Barou dragged the ball past him and shot through the contact. A goal. The net shook violently. Barou turned, spreading his arms wide. "Bow down," he roared. "The true king of football has arrived." The words echoed throughout the room. Isagi even heard them. He laughed, grabbing his own face, fingers digging into his cheeks. Laughter, sharp and unhinged. "I'll burn that throne down to the ground," he snarled, eyes gleaming. "With my own hands." The next possession, Isagi didn't hesitate. He ran straight at Barou, who would smirk. "You think you..." Isagi slipped the ball sideways at the last moment. Okuwa then flicked the ball over both their heads with the chip, and Isagi exploded forward. As he passed Barou, he spoke, quiet and final. "I'm done looking up to you." The ball dropped, and Isagi trapped it and spun around a defender, aiming his shot and scoring, tying the game. Barou's eyes would widen as he almost chuckled to himself. But soon, he answered immediately. He would bulldoze through the midfield, cut inside, and fire a knuckle shot that ripped into the net. After this, Isagi had his own answer. A 1-2 with Nico into a sharp feint, and then a precise strike into the bottom corner. This caused Barou to laugh wildly. "That's it. That's what I wanted." He then scored again, muscling past 2 defenders to slam the ball home. Isagi would soon wipe the sweat from his face. "I'm still chasing," the thought burned. "No, I'm still reacting." Then, he changed. He slowed down the game. He drifted between lines, watching and calculating. When the chance came, he struck. A curved shot, bending away from Barou's pressure, tying the game once again, 3-3. Barou soon took the ball. The world slowed. Just then, Barou charged forward, shoulders squared, eyes blazing. "Move," he growled. Isagi stayed in front of him. Step, into a feint, then a sharp turn. Barou tried everything. Then he went into power cuts, sudden chops, brute force. Isagi matched him. Their feet danced. Flashback. 2 kids in an empty field, laughing, competing, and falling over. Their parents in the background. This used to be their life. But then everything shattered. Divorce, silence, distance. Back to the present. There were no smiles, only hunger. Barou shifted his weight. A chop to the right. Isagi saw it, reaching out for the ball. Now. He stabbed his foot. A poke tackle. The ball spilled free. Barou froze, and Isagi reacted, running. The keeper rushed out. Defenders closed in. I'm boxed in. Isagi's mind fractured, but then it reassembled. Even if they're here, even if he sees me, the goal shrank. One space remained. There. Isagi struck. The ball, threaded through reality itself. A goal. 4-3. Silence followed. Barou stood frozen. No words, only fury. Isagi didn't celebrate. He stood still, his hands over his eyes. That goal. I saw it differently. The only place that the keeper couldn't reach. When he lowered his hands, his eyes had changed. Sharp, focused, animalistic. Yoichi Isagi had awakened the predator eye.